Hey everyone, Clay Trichet here. Today I want to show you how I made Space Zombies, my entry for the Animation at Work 2024 competition. And if you're a comic book fan like I am, then you may want to watch this because everything that I show you will be simple, easy, and quick. No complicated methods, no hard to understand tricks, just plain and simple, easy how-tos. But before I start, I would like to show off a few screenshots of some of my art that I used in Space Zombies that was made using Paint.net. Now, there may be some people out there who probably think that Paint.net wouldn't make good quality art, but I'll show them otherwise. So let the slideshow begin.
How he made a plane.
Okay, first I'm going to show you how to put together a comic page inside Cartoon Animator with sliding panels simulating a motion comic page. Now I already have all of the animated panels, which are MP3 video clips that I have made with Cartoon Animator 5. Now we're just going to use Cartoon Animator 5. I'm going to start off with the part where the group meets back up with Zombie Daniel because I don't want to go through the whole project because I don't want to make this video way too long. But everything I show you also applies to the rest of the page. Okay, the first thing we want to do is add a black background to the project. This will help our motion comics stand out. Now we need to import our main page showing the meeting with Daniel. This is also the back page. Now we want to dim it to where you can barely see it, so the other panels won't clash with it. And we do that using opacity in the timeline. As you can see, I already have the timeline open. I'll start at 0, but you can do this at any time depending on when you want to do it. Okay, now we go to the Edit tab and we choose Opacity at 0. Then back to 100. This will set the first keyframe. Then move to 10 in the timeline and set the opacity to 25. The next thing we need to do is import our MP4 file of Zombie Daniel. So I move back to 0 in the timeline and then import the MP4 file. and then I'll size it up and move it to the left outside the viewing area. Now I'm going to create a path. Then click on the MP4 file and pick the path I just made, and then I have to move it back into position. After that, I click back on the MP4 file again and open up the path property. Then I move back to 10 in the timeline right after the page goes dim. Now I'll press the V key to add a keyframe and go to 85 in the timeline. Then move the progression in the path properties to where the MP4 file is in the position where I need it. Now let the MP3 play out until it stops, and again click on it and go into composer mode. Double click on the MP4 file to bring up the sprite editor. Here I'll add a shot of the MP4 that I made when I created it in Cartoon Animator after rendering it as a single image. So I import it to add it to the sprite editor. Now we're going to create another path. Then click on the MP4 to open up its path properties, and then select the new path that was just created. Now you may have to reposition the MP4 and the path. Then open up the path properties, press the V key to add a keyframe, and move the progression to where the MP4 is out of the view area. But do keep in mind that sometimes it's not going to be perfect. And if you notice when you watched it, I had a little bit of jitteries of the panels, glitching, kind of twitching and stuff. Had a difficult time to lining it up, but it still worked and I still used it. So you may encounter those problems as well. But it turns out pretty good, so don't sweat it. Now that was kind of quick, but I'm just basically showing you how uh, I did this. In other words, giving you an idea. So we're not going to worry about how fast we're doing it, but you will determine the speed that you need. Now move our first MP4 back into its previous position, and let's add our next MP4 and size it up. Then move it to the right outside of the viewing area, and then remove objects animation. Now let's create another path. Then click on the second MP4 and pick the new path. Then move the MP4 back into its position. Let's move the timeline to 185. Press the V key to add a keyframe. Then click on the second MP4 and in its path properties, move the progression to move the second MP4. Well, it's not really perfect, but you're getting the idea of what I've done on how to create a motion comic page inside of Cartoon Animator. Now, I'm not going to go through every detail and add more panels to it. You can do the panels left to right or right to left, up or down vertically. So this will simulate that you're actually reading a comic book from top to bottom, left and right. You get the idea. So now let's go to the next step and I'll show you how I create the motion of the characters moving, adding the dramatic slow motion, like Gary Pye stated in a previous video. So let's do that now.
Okay, now show me how you do it, or I'll beat you up.
Okay, now here's a panel that I created using Kurt Russell as one of the characters. Actually, he's the hero of the comic, motion comic. And you can see he's getting ready to punch a zombie because Maya warned him that that zombie was sneaking up behind him. So he just quickly turned around and sucker punched the zombie in the face. And what I done was I added a slow motion effect to give it that dramatic, like Gary Pye said in one of his videos, using slow motion for that dramatic drama action. That really, gives the motion comics its effect. So, so the way I done it was for each character, no, Kurt Russell, he's just a prop. I just uh, used him as a prop. Now, like I said before, that in motion comics, you don't actually have to uh, take your characters and tear them apart and put them back together and as a rigged character. You can just import the whole thing as one whole sprite and then go back and add bones to it. And that's what I did here for Kurt Russell. So what I did after that, once I got them all together or rigged together as a prop character, I'd go to a certain point and then I'll set keyframe in its prop key editor, and then I'll go to around like 70 to give it more of a slow movement. Okay, and then I'll just move his limbs around and spin them around a little bit to make it look like he's punching the zombie. Okay, and I'll move back. And then now for the skeleton zombie, it's actually uh, a rigged character. Because I'm planning on putting him in the marketplace soon, so I figured I'd go ahead and make him an actual character. So, and again, like I did Kurt Russell there, I would go to this point here and then I would set the keyframe. And then I would go to 70 to give it that slow motion look again, movement. And I would edit each of the zombie's limbs and his head and all that. And I would click on the hip and spin it around to an angle to make it look like he's flying off after getting hit by Kurt Russell. Like so. Okay, and another thing I did was I added the blood splatter. You can see right here, and it's just a sprite I added in there. I just overlapped over everything, and the way I made it look like it was flying out of the zombie's face after getting hit is I would move. I would go to that point, and I would just kind of move it. Now I didn't use no path or anything like that. I just moved it with the cursor. So I would just grab it, move it a little bit, and then I would go back to that 70, and then I would move it to the left a little bit, going out of frame just a little. And then after that, I go right there, let's see. After that, I applied deformation to it. And then I would set its keyframe. And I would move back to that 70 point again, and instead of using any of these, I would just move some of the points of the grid of the deformation to give it that effect that the blood is stretching out into the air after squirting out of the zombie's mouth, like so. And that is how I did the blood splatter. Now there's one more, and that's this pal effect. It's just a simple sprite that I added in there, just like I did the blood splatter. But what I done was I would just grab one of the corners at that point here in the timeline, and I would move it. Everything happens at the 70, and then I would just stretch that out to make it look like um, it's coming outward at the screen, giving that effect. That pow! He soccer punched that zombie. Okay, and also I added this frame here. It's just a sprite, and I just put it around the edges of the viewing area. Now, when I use the camera to pan everything to the left, I turned it. I turned it to an angle to give it that more of that dramatic look, like so. So when I did that, I had to grab that frame sprite, and I would actually have to move it around to keep it right around the edges of the viewing area. Not really hard to do. It's some work, but it's not hard to do. Like so, it makes it look like it's a actual panel of the comic, the motion comic book. So, so that's how I did the actions. Like Gary Pye said, you do everything in slow motion and give it that more of a dramatic feel, like a motion comic was supposed to have. Okay, there we go. Okay, now there's another effect that I've done, and I'll show that to you. It's where um, George Lopez is reaching for the the orb, but yet there's this other little bitty orb that flies out, glowing and everything with electricity and all that. And I'll show you how I made that move around. So that's the next step. Okay, now here's the part where I have George Lopez reaching out for the orb, but yet another little orb comes flying out and flying in front of his face. I guess at that point, when everything goes black, that's where he got infected from the orb and became a zombie. So let me show you. You can see the orb is flying up in front of George Lopez's face. And he says, pretty, and Maya says, no, trying to stop him from touching it. So the way I did the small orb is I use motion pilot. So let me demonstrate that. What I'm going to do just for this purpose is I'm going to remove the animate object animation, and then I'm going to open up uh, the orb. I meant the motion pilot properties, and then I'm going to push record. And I'll put my mouse right over the small orb and then push the space bar, and I'll have it just flying up. Like so. Oh, let's see that. And he says, pretty, and she said, no, trying to stop him. Also, another thing you noticed was I added a sprite of a group of zombies facing different directions. Well, actually, it's the same zombie. I just turned them around, and I made two different side views of them, or actually three side views and then two front views. Well, I just add that in there and make it look like dark shadows inside the orb, which one of those go inside of. I guess he gets infected. George Lopez gets infected with one of these. Now, for the effect of the orb, for the lightning and everything, and all the electricity around, I use my all-time favorite video editor to add the effects, and that's HitFilm Pro. HitFilm Pro comes with all the effects, or HitFilm Express. I think with that one you may have to purchase some of the effects, but I got the HitFilm Pro, and it came with all of it. So I just kind of applied it and in HitFilm Pro. So that's how this part was created. That's how that I moved that, made that moving effect for the little orb. Okay, now I'm going to show you another software that I use to add all my background effects, like the explosion and the orb glowing and pulsating and stuff like that. And then I'm going to show you that next. Okay? Stay tuned.
Wow! How did you make that? That is so cool.
Okay, hi everyone, I'm back. Now, this software you see is called DP Animation Maker. Cost is around I think 20. I can't remember how much I paid for it. It's been a while. I think like around 24, maybe even 30 bucks. It could be cheaper, but it does have a trial version. So what I done was I would just click here and I would import my well, let me show you. I don't know why I closed it out. I'll import my you know, wherever I have my image at, which is my background. Okay, so I already got it imported. And let's see. Okay, so right here you got all your tools and stuff. You got your text editor, and this is the airbrush. You can airbrush stuff on there, which I don't ever use that. Okay, the only thing I actually use is this one, add animation, and this right here, animated brushes, which is the one I mostly use, animated brushes. Okay, and import an image. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to open up animate a brush. Alright, so I am going to find a brush called liner. Flow brush liner. Okay, and then I'll add that. Once you add it, it adds it to the hierarchy right over here. Okay, so what this does is it adds motion in whatever direction you have that you want it to go in. So let's say I want to have these rocks and these flames and stuff like that moving. So here's what I do. Okay, right there I go to its properties, and right here where it says DEG, I'll move it at an angle like that. Okay, and then I'll just start brushing. Well, let's go over here. You can add a different size. You can size it up, the pixel size of the brush. There. And what I'll do is I'll just start I'll just paint it on there. I'll paint all of it on there like so. And I'll do all of this because it's flying up at this angle. So, and we'll just do some of this right in here. I wasn't really trying to keep this software secret from anybody. I wasn't ready to actually show y'all what I used yet up until now. I figured I'd be nice enough to show y'all so y'all can get this application and use it for yourself, for your backgrounds and stuff like that. But I love it. It's easy. I'm pretty sure there are other ones out there, but this is the cheapest one I came across. So, and it works pretty good. So now I got this one. So now what I want to do is have all of this going upward. So I'm going to add another, but I'm not going to change this one. Well, yeah, I am. I'm going to do it vertical upward like that. Let's do it a little bit of angle like so. Let me size that up. Like that. And then we're going to do another one straight up and down. We'll add another one straight up and down. We'll take care of all of these right here. If you want, you can grab the edge of the orb. Well, I'm the one that's doing this. I'm sorry. Okay, now we're going to do this side. So we're going to use two different angles in that. So we add another one. We'll add that angle. All right. I'll just grab all of this right here. Try not to get the ones you don't. Oops. Undo that. You don't want too much of that orb going out. So that makes all the debris look like it's, you know, shooting upwards out of the orb. Now I got this part right here. I didn't mean to do that, but that's okay. You can select the eraser, and we'll just erase that right there and fix that so that don't look like it's being a part of that, like so. And that's how that is done on that part. So we want this orb, the inner side of this orb spinning around. So there's another one called radial, or let's see, is it radial or is it circular? No, it's radial. So we're going to select radial, and you can see it's in the hierarchy. So let's go ahead and scale up that brush size there. Let's do this. Yeah, that's the one we're looking for. So that makes it look like it's expanding and exploding and stuff like that. Now, the next thing we need is the light brush. So we'll do the light brush, and this adds light to everything. So we'll select that. Let's see. And now it's right here at the top. We'll go into the properties and we'll go to colors and we'll select the yellow. Now, what I do is I'll kind of bring the strength up a little bit. And we'll size that brush. And let's go ahead and add, well, the strength might be a little bit too strong, so let's go back. There we go. I may want to add a little bit of light color to that yellow glow, like so. Let's bring that strength. And if you want, you got like the pulsation of the lights. You got the soft wind. You got the constant. You got the pulsating, and you got the random. So the pulsating is the one you want, but you can change the speed and the strength of it here, and then you got the color. Okay, this right here is previous layer of the whole screen. Now let's just say you didn't use. I'll show you. But anyway, that's how that is made. Okay, so that's how I did that part, and all the other uh, backgrounds you've seen, like the control room and all that, those are actually the light. I do all sorts of different lights with different colors and different the speeds, so they don't blink all at the same time. They'll just blink simultaneously one after another. So that's how I did those backgrounds with this right here. Now, with this software, you can also make animated water or waterfalls, tornadoes, stuff like that. Things. You know, you got the water brush. The water brush, I'm just going to show you for the purpose. The water brush, you can just, it makes it look like that's water moving right there, which is pretty cool. But anyway, you also have the add animation, which like the lightning, okay, and the lightning bolts. You got lightning bolts right there. So right there, you got lightning bolts, and you can add the lightning bolts to it if you want to. And then you got this lightning bolt. So yeah, let's see. You got the electrical charges you can add to it, and then you can adjust the points. So you know, whatever you want to add into it. You got different ones. You got this one, the burst. This one is called electric discharge. Yeah, so that's the electric discharge. You can kind of just grab each point, push the button on your pen, and I am on the drawing tablet for this, like so. It's got a lot of neat effects that you can add to it and create, and it also has some examples that you can check out. But this right here would make some really cool backgrounds for Cartoon Animator. So check it out. I'll try to put the link in the bottom, in the description at the bottom for this application. So it does have a free trial. Uh, Again, I can't remember how much I paid for it. I'm gonna have to go back and look. But it's a great addition for your tools uh, that you can use later on in any animation that you do with Cartoon Animator. And this, how I got those into Cartoon Animator, you go to export, and you know Cartoon Animator 5, you can import GIF files. Oh, you could just like save it as a GIF file, give it a name. And you can see I got some right here I've already done. All these right here these are all animated as GIF files. These are the previous things I've created. This one I never really did use because I changed my mind about it. I know I spent a lot of time, but I'm not going to let my work go to waste. I'm going to still add it to the marketplace in a bundle pack or something. So I'm not going to let none of these go to waste, even though I didn't use them. So yeah, so you can just give it a name, whatever. Whatever. And then when you push save, it'll give you the option to where you can change the resolutions, or oh well, I'll take that back. Image width and the image height. So what you want to do is click that open. You want to unlock that lock. And since Cartoon Animator does a 19 by 20 and 10 by 80, you can do that. So you're going to 19, 20 by 10 by 80. 1080, I'm sorry. 10, whoops, 1080. And then over here at the loop transition, I usually go with 2. It works the best. And I won't change anything else. And I'll just export it. And once it's exported, then you can import it into Cartoon Animator. Just go into the add props, and that's what it is add props. And then you can just, adjust it into Cartoon Animator the way you want it. So, that's pretty much it. What I got to show you. This is how everything I showed you is how I created my motion comic Space Zombies. Everything that I've used. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'm just gonna end the video and by showing a few of the animated backgrounds that I created with this and Paint.net. So again, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed, and happy animation.